Here is a scary thought. Now that Neuralink has arrived, is this proof that we are about to see the first people who begin to merge with machines? This always sounds like a bit of a nerd fantasy, but recent developments in robotics and Neuralink shows that this might be just around the corner. Since as far back as 2018, people were already using brain interface technology, which is what Neuralink is, to give animals the power to move things using only their minds. You see, what something like Neuralink does is it drills a hole in your skull and puts all these wires into the movement center of your brain. It then is able to read the brainwaves that you usually use to move your hands. But this is where it gets crazy. All you need to do is imagine a movement, and this technology is still able to decode those imagined brainwaves and translate them into real movement. This is how they have gotten monkeys playing ping pong using only their minds. This actually works. Now combine this capacity with the arrival of robotics. A problem people have always had with fake limbs, artificial limbs, prosthetic limbs is that we can't get our brains to connect to them. You can't wire a nerve into a robotic hand, it just doesn't work that way. But now these brain interfaces can easily connect to robotic limbs. So say you were unfortunate enough to lose your hand in a car crash. You would be able to create a robotic hand, attach it to your arm, and then use a Neuralink to control it using your brain. Now this is quite crazy because of course you could get a robotic hand that has 10 times the strength of a normal human hand. This is not some speculation, this capacity is already here. And this opens up some frightening possibilities. In the next few years we're going to start to see the first people with robotic limbs that are connected to their brains. Now what happens when we get people who have super arms? They have super legs. Will they be able to run faster than most normal humans? There was already an Olympian who had fake legs. This man's name was Oscar Pistorius, and he was getting criticism during things like the Olympics because he had an advantage apparently over normal people because his ankles didn't get sore, he didn't have tendon issues. So will we begin to see Iron Men show up in the future? Of course we might, but there's a catch. Not everybody will be able to take advantage of this because of wealth. Neuralink costs a lot of money. Any type of robotic arm is probably going to cost a lot of money. These are all major surgeries. If they do end up lending people any serious advantage, there'll probably be quite a high price on them. At the moment we are going through an enormous economic inflation. There's a huge rising in inequality, and our culture is transforming in ways that we've never seen before. A lot of people are noticing a significant gap between the rich and the poor. This bodes a scary question. Will the rich billionaire tech lords be able to transform themselves into something like cyborg gods? Yes, I know, a nerd fantasy, but there's historical precedent for this. In the ancient world, it was always the aristocrats who could afford the expensive armor that gave them more power in battle, made them more dangerous. It was very expensive to own a sword, a suit of armor, a horse. So can you imagine if you were a European peasant and you chanced upon some knight in shining armor who would literally appear like a Terminator, completely invulnerable to your crappy little pitchfork, fully military trained from youth, whereas you had only spent your time herding cows. And he was wielding an enormous, powerful sword while sitting atop a giant beast. The knight would have appeared like some type of invincible god to the average man. Is this dynamic about to show up in the world stage once again? Maybe, but there's a catch. You see, our culture is obsessed with regulations. It's no secret that artificial intelligence is held back quite a lot by the moral bias of the people who create it. Google Gemini had to shut down their recent image processor because people were trying to get a picture of a Caucasian person and it wasn't generating them. Whoever built it has an implicit bias built into it. But the other moral concern is government regulation. Places like California are talking about regulating artificial intelligence heavily because it will put creative people out of jobs, or it may present information that is considered incorrect. So in this current malaise, I'd find it very unlikely that a company could go rogue and try and invent the apparatus of prosthetic limbs and super weapons that people can attach to their body to create a god man. So where this ends up going, I do not know. But these technologies are here, and we're going to be forced to confront what they're capable of doing. Now, if you enjoyed this, I have a longer piece that will be exploring these ideas in more detail, looking at the recent Neuralink updates, so I recommend you check that out.